changing out there. Just like last time. There's a storm coming, Harry. We'd all best be ready when she does.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swagglehas. And in this video, we got to talk about the storm. That is right, the storm that is coming. Or perhaps I should call it the storm that is already here, because we got to talk about some recent sales coming off the heels of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness's release of their new trailer, as well as the Moon Knight trailer that came out during the Super Bowl. Now, it's really funny because coming into this week and thinking of videos that I wanted to do for the channel, I was actually thinking about making a video that was going to talk about the calm before the storm and talk about, the anticipation leading up to Moon Knight, which is, basically 6 weeks away from where we are at the time of recording this video. But I feel like now it's actually going to be more appropriate to talk about the actual storm itself. But before I get into the video, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, helps support the channel, do one of those things, I would appreciate it. And also I have my 10K subscriber giveaway contest going on right now. And I'm actually going to be giving away one of the hottest books in the market, my New Avengers CGC 9.6 or New Avengers number 7 CGC 9.6. So you may definitely want to, hop over to that video and give yourself a chance to win that. But with that all out of the way, I guess it kind of perfectly sets up our conversation in this video here today. And that is this, new surge that I feel like we're feeling right now in the comic book spec market. Now it feels like, for a time, a couple months ago, especially during like the HAWKEYE show and, some of the winter months of the comic book market, it felt like there was a lot of spec fatigue out there. But, coming off of the heels of the Book of Boba Fett, we kind of saw a lot of books really explode onto the market. And that was, of course, Star Wars Darth Vader #1. We also saw, the Cad Bane book also blow up in the market. And so I thought that was really interesting that we were sort of getting this, surge back into the comic book market. And one of the things that I think is really interesting about that, within context is that, it was actually a year ago this week, that we got that episode of It Was Agatha All Along in the WandaVision TV show. Can you guys believe that? It's been a year since we had WandaVision and in particular that episode. And to me, that episode sort of signified like the kickoff of the 2021 comic book market boom. In fact, I have a video that's basically a year ago to this point where, you can see it right here. I had the thumbnail said, what is happening with the spec market? I got the Agatha picture right there. I got the FF94. And I basically asked a question of like, are we headed into uncharted waters? And what is this like comic book market boom? And I really focused in on this idea of like what was going on with the Disney Plus books and how they were exploding into the market. And it definitely felt like, we had the craziness that we did, and there was like a cool off point, and maybe, all of us, in the comic book market sort of learned our lesson in FOMO and jumping onto things. And now here we are, like, a couple months into 2022, and it feels like the market is going absolutely bananas again for all these books that are related to Moon Knight and all the books that are related to Doctor Strange. And so let's kind of take a look at some of these books and kind of talk through them, just because I think it's really, really crazy to see what's going on in the market. I pulled up the cover price, and cover price is already sort of on top of this. I definitely am going to talk about New Avengers number 7 here in the 2 slot. We'll talk about this New Avengers Illuminati book in the 8 slot, which is, I think, is one that's really interesting. We got to talk about the Secret Avengers here in the 7 slot. But a lot of these books are going off in the market. But let's talk about, the one that I think is the big book, that is New Avengers number 7 from 2005, the first appearance of the Illuminati team. We got in that trailer, an allusion to the fact that we're going to see the Illuminati. It was, basically Charles Xavier's voice that we heard. And just look at what this book has done in the market as of late. I mean, it is absolutely insane right here. I love seeing that right here sold February 14th, a slash price for $325 for a CGC 9.6. So who knows what that went for, $300 or so. So hey, that's a pretty good giveaway, I think, on the Swagglehas channel. Here's another book that sold basically around that $300 mark if you're including the shipping right there. And you can see that this book has really been like lighting up the lamps. I mean, look at this. Somebody actually bought this CGC 9.8 New Avengers number 7 for $700. I mean, that is absolutely insane. This is a book that, in a 9.8 grade, you could have easily got for probably like $250 like a week ago or so. And now it's like hitting that $700 threshold. Here's another one that went just before that for $600. And here's the one that went just before that one for a $600 slash price. So let's like assume that this went for like $550 or whatever the case may be. So it is really crazy to see that we're kind of hitting this like peak FOMO once again that we sort of felt all the way back, last year when we got the Agatha Harkness reveal. So, I don't know what this year is going to be, but it sort of feels like, the Super Bowl trailers are sort of this year's Agatha Harkness like kickoff point for where we are with the market. As far as the amount of copies are being sold, I mean, you saw right here, there's just, tons and tons and tons and tons. This is just all from yesterday on the Super Bowl. So it's really, really crazy to see just how many are flying off the shelves. Another book that I thought was interesting is this one right here. I talked about this when I was doing the initial video I talked about with the rumors of the Illuminati. This one right here is New Avengers #1, Civil War. And this is, of course, is like the first sort of Illuminati in the title. This is their first cover appearance. This could also be considered their second appearance in comic book form. I think this one is really interesting. I think there's another Illuminati book, the one that's New Avengers #1, their ongoing series that I think is also a good book to pick up for the Illuminati. But again, here's one that, we're seeing high prices of, $15. I think there was one that sold at $20, but just like the amount of inventory that is moving for this book in the market. Similarly, another book that has really kicked off, this is one that had been hot for quite some time because of the anticipation that we might be getting Rintrah. But this Doctor Strange #81 definitely is one that is also sort of lighting up the lamp, so to speak. You see sales here at the $60 range. Here's a slash price $49. Here's a $40 one. But again, a lot of sales. This previously, I would say that this was a book that was, selling around the $30 range, but it definitely seems like now it's pushing that kind of $40, $50 mark. So another book that has really, really gone up a lot. Like here you can see a 9.6 sold on February 10th for $130. I mean, I bet if that book were to sell today, this book would easily be hitting that like $280, maybe pushing that $300 range, just due to the fact that we actually saw a clear image of him in the trailer. Another interesting book to talk about is the Superior Iron Man #1 from 2014, the first appearance of the Superior Iron Man armor. And you can see that this is another book that, the speculators are going even harder into the speculation with the idea of a book like this, where you see here the first print selling around the $50 range. Here's a bunch of other prints selling for $44, so one for selling for $45, another for $35, and then the second print right here selling for $94. This was a book that, a couple weeks ago, you could probably have your hands on it for, $5 or $10 or so. And now everybody is thinking that this might be, another hot book coming into the market. And that to me is like another sign that the speculator market is really, really picking up, because now you have these like second degree layers of speculation that are also hitting up in the market. It's not just seeing Rintrah in the trailer or seeing the Illuminati in the trailer. Now it's thinking like, oh, these rumors with Tom Cruise wearing the Superior Iron Man, armor might actually come to fruition. So the speculator market is really alive with this one. Now, on top of all that, it wasn't just the Doctor Strange books that really kicked off in the market, but also the Moon Knight books right here. And this one is really interesting. Moon Knight #1, we got the reveal that Moon Knight was maybe going to be wearing the Mr. Knight costume. And this book right here has definitely picked up a lot. You can see a $65 sale just for a raw copy. This would be the first print. There's a couple different printings of this book. I don't know what the deal with this one is here, but this one sold for $114, and it's the third printing. I don't know if the third printing is more rare than the first one, and so maybe people are thinking that, this is one of those rare occurrences where the, additional prints are actually more desirable in the market. I guess they are right here, because here's another one, $179 for the third print, as opposed to $80 right here for the first print. So this is totally crazy too, because you can see just like how many copies have sold in this last like couple days or so. Similarly, this Secret Avengers #19 book, another like first appearance of the Mr. Knight costume. I guess there's the Mr. Knight, costume appearance, and then there's the, him taking up the moniker of Mr. Knight. But this is another book that has exploded onto the market, Secret Avengers #19. We see a high sale right here at the $51 range with 10 bids. Here's a couple that were buy it nows for $40. 140. And then similarly, this other book right here, Moon Knight number 188. This is the first appearance of the Sun King. A lot of people were thinking that, Ethan Hawke's character might be in that Moon Knight number 2 book. A lot of people thinking he might be the Sun King, but based on like the tattoo that he had on his arm, this has also shot up once again in the market. People jumping on this book. Here's another sale for $50. So a book that maybe was in contention for a little bit and then fell out of favor on the first teaser, but now is sort of coming back in line to the spec market. But overall, what I think is really interesting with what I'm seeing here in the market is that it definitely feels like, we're kind of full pedal to the metal again with our FOMO. And it feels like we're kind of reliving this kind of Agatha Harkness all along effect, or this Disney Plus effect once again. I mean, it feels like when we got Hawkeye last year, there was definitely a lot of movement in the market. There were some spec books that were kind of, getting hot week to week, maybe the first appearance of Swordsman or the Maya Lopez book, but it definitely didn't feel the same as it does right now with what's going on with Doctor Strange and Moon Knight. And I think it's really interesting that, when we got Book of Boba Fett, it felt like the market was really picking up with those books, even though the show wasn't that well received. And now that we're sort of on the other end of Disney Star Wars here, we're kind of, wrapping up Peacemaker. The next property that we have in front of us as far as the comic book collecting community is concerned is going to be Moon Knight. So all attention is being paid once again to, the Marvel properties. And it definitely feels like we could be hitting that, peak fervor once again. And so what I would basically say to you guys is, if you're out there and you want some of these books, definitely have some discretion, do your research, control the FOMO. I had made a video some weeks back where I talked about FOMO, and I think there are basically 3 different kinds of FOMO that we can all have as comic book collectors. There's the FOMO of I don't want to miss out on the book that I've always wanted in my collection. There's the FOMO of I don't want to miss out on the opportunity to flip a book, or it's oh, I'm going to make so much money. And then there's the FOMO, which is I just don't want to miss out because it seems like everyone else is in the club and I don't want to be left out. And I would say that if your FOMO is not the first one, which is just wanting to have the book that you've always wanted in your collection, I would definitely say, hey, pump the brakes a little bit, control that FOMO, and really ask yourself the question of, do you really want to own this book? Is this something that you've always wanted in your collection? And understand if you are not being swept up by the FOMO, and in fact, this is a book that you may actually really want. But that's all I have for this video. That was just me sort of talking about, what's kind of going on in the market right now. I feel like the storm is coming once again with the comic book market. And when we get Moon Knight, who really knows what's going to happen with all these books? Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Be sure to hop over to my 10K subscriber giveaway and give yourselves a chance to win, new Avengers number 7. Don't go buying it for FOMO. Try to win it from my YouTube channel. Anyways, that's all I got. Drop me a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.